Good evening, Professor Thompson and my TAs. My name is Fran Legado. My student ID is 1977760, and this is for my company choice video. I chose the company Chevron. I'm part of the energy sector, and let's get into it. So a quick background into the company. They're based in San Ramon, California, and they currently have 42,000 employees. And their daily operation involves in them engaging in all phases of petroleum operations. These are including exploration, production, and refining to marketing and research. It also produces a wide range of petrochemicals and polymers. They own interest in coal and mineral mining and produces geothermal energy. A quick history lesson of them. Overall summary of this is they were part of a long history of acquisitions and mergers. So they were originally founded in 1879 under the name Pacific Coast Oil Company. Eventually, it was bought out by Standard Oil Company and Trust. They then acquired the Gulf Corporation in the 80s, later switching their name to Chevron. After switching their name to Chevron, they merged with Texaco. And after they merged with Texaco, they changed their name to Chevron Texaco Corporation. And finally, to keep it all simple, they changed their name again to Chevron. And I also included a picture of the Pacific Coast Oil Company flyer back in the day. I thought that was pretty cool. So success in industry. They are the second biggest energy company based in the United States behind ExxonMobil. They reported $35 billion in earnings last year. They have a really strong brand recognition, known worldwide. And I just have a picture of emissions because the next topic we're going to be talking about are problems. And I just thought it would be funny to include the quote, "When nothing goes right, go left," because it really undermines their company values. And this is a picture of toxic waste in Ecuador after a toxic dump by Chevron. And this is a picture of Richmond, California after an accidental oil spill. And we're going to talk about problem solutions. One of the biggest problems, being in the energy sector is the pollution. Big one is carbon dioxide and methane emissions. So what Chevron is planning to do is to lower carbon emissions by having a carbon emissions program, and they invested $10 billion into their fund. With that, they also lowered down their methane emissions by more than 50% since 2016. And this is big because the biggest issue with energy companies is their pollution. So the more that they can lower their emissions, the better they're going to be. The more countries that are willing to let them do business there, and the more investors that are willing to take them on. And going back to the picture a while ago, it was the Ecuador toxic waste dump. Now this is a big failure on their end. So they failed to comply with the court ruling of Ecuador of paying $9 billion. Instead, they chose to stall it through a rough legal battle, and it's still going on today. There was also another picture of the Richmond, California oil spill, and they had to pay $200,500 in cleanup costs and legal fees. And this is all because of damage caused by the California oil spill. Now next, we have to analyze the company, and my choice was to use a SWOT analysis, aka the strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats analysis. So the biggest advantage Chevron has is its strong global brand. Everyone knows them. They operate in 180 countries, and also they do extensive business in 27 countries. They have diversity in products. They have oil, gas, and other renewable energy that they're working on. And going off of the strong global brand, they do business in multiple countries. So if one country may go into recession, they have other countries that they can rely on to produce and to sell to. The biggest weakness that they have is the environmental backlash. There's always incidents, there could be some scandals that could happen, but one thing is for sure, this could impact the company financially and mentally, because a lot of company, if they have more, like, let's say oil spills or more waste dumps that people see get reported, no one would want to do business with them, because this affects communities long term. It affects people's health, it affects food, it affects everything. So that's one of their biggest weaknesses. Opportunity, they have a really big opportunity right now in renewable energy, and the biggest sector is the electric energy. Biggest competitor in that field would be, as we all know, Tesla. And the threats. So they have two major threats, and one of them is the political threats coming from Saudi Arabia. And this is because Saudi Arabia has a lot of land where they can get oil from. So they can produce so much more oil that they could lower down prices, potentially cutting off companies like Chevron and ExxonMobil off from business. They also have competitive threats from Tesla because of the renewable energy. And one thing we have to understand from Chevron is that they are a legalistic business. They follow laws and legal loopholes that may or may not sacrifice morals and ethics. And once again, this explains the whole Ecuador stall. So if we can go back to all their problems, all of this really goes back to being the legalistic business. You know, they want to gain as much money as they can while following the laws. And if you look really into the Ecuador toxic waste dump, morally it is wrong. They should have paid the $9 billion. They made so much money last year that they could just pay that off easily, but they choose to just go through the legal way of things and see how they can end up later on. And in conclusion, they have a really great outlook in the future. Looks like they are planning to keep on expanding, keep lowering down that carbon emissions with their carbon emissions program. They look like they're on the path to keep that number 2 position, maybe even overtake ExxonMobil in a couple years. But thank you guys for listening. That was my presentation. I hope you have a great day.